Derby last night. A gang of about 60 youths attacked a club which is used mainly by Derby's Caribbean community. Cars were set on fire, windows smashed and a man stabbed in the fighting which followed. This report from Phil Bales.
Police accuse Portsmouth youths of being bent on causing trouble in Derby's black community. Portsmouth Football Club confirmed it believed the attack on the Caribbean club was carried out by a group known as the 657 crew, which has a reputation for attacking blacks.
People are out to kill people.
There's nothing else
the
to say
police
about
and
it.
those people and everybody else didn't come down here till the aftermath. People should have been here before, and they should have stopped them from before they'd even got halfway down.
The police are saying they were Portsmouth football fans. Do you think it's more sinister?
No, they're white people.
The white people. We don't care what the Portsmouth fans, Derby fans.
Right? To take black people out.
35 black youths attacked in the club chased the white gang through the area. Shops and a public house were badly damaged. Car windscreens were smashed.
They're animals, mate. The hard cars, no, you know what I mean? That's really clever.
As clearing up operations began, police praised black community leaders for helping to restore order as 60 Portsmouth youths were rounded up. 20 were arrested and are still being questioned. The rest were taken to the second division match where there was no further trouble.
The 20 Portsmouth youths arrested last night are still being questioned by police. Derby's Assistant Chief Constable has said they were not part of the main body of Pompey football supporters and appeared bent on causing trouble. Meanwhile, Ian Gibson, the Portsmouth Council leader, has sent letters of apology to Derby's Mayor and City Council. Portsmouth Football Club chairman John Deacon is equally unhappy that his club's reputation has been tarnished by the notorious 657 crew. Now, these supporters take their name from the train they used to catch to away matches. They're known troublemakers who've been banned from Fratton Park for 3 years. Rob Widdows has been speaking with Mr. Deacon.
Portsmouth has always had a very good image, and of course I naturally am very concerned about it. There has been for many years, even before my time, a small element who seem determined simply wherever they go to cause trouble and chaos. They do not represent the club, they do not belong to the club. They are just a bunch of hooligans who decide they're going to cause trouble, and unfortunately they still exist. They're in all cities. They cause problems in most of the big cities, and we have done our best and have succeeded in keeping them out of Fratton Park. But it's going to be awfully difficult for us to keep them from going to away games.
If they're not Portsmouth fans, who are these people?
Well, there could be a political motive behind it. It's not unknown, of course, that these occasions can be used by certain political organisations to cause problems, and it's suggested that perhaps that's behind it all. I don't know. I've no confirmation to confirm that, but that has been suggested. Statement has been made by the Derby Football Club, with which we concur, and it tends to indicate that that really was the cause of the problem.
Two workers taken to the street are still being held by police after more than 4 hours of rioting in the streets of Derby last night. The violence broke out in a predominantly black area of the city close to the Derby football ground. Dozens of windows were smashed, a car set on fire and one man stabbed. But although the disturbances happened on the night that second-place Derby took on league leaders Portsmouth, the Hampshire team tonight denied that their supporters were at fault. Mr. John Deacon, chairman of Portsmouth Football Club, said there'd been no violence associated with the club for 3 seasons. He added, if a group of yobbos decide to travel to away games and cause trouble, there's nothing the club can do. From Derby, Paul McRae sends us this report.
Violence in the shadow of a football ground. Violence on the streets of Derby. The football clubs say what happened had nothing to do with them, but it's thought football supporters started it. It's certain football supporters were among its victims.
Well, we came up from Portsmouth today to see the game. We got 200 miles to go home. I don't know where we're going to get this fixed now.
The trouble began a mile from the ground, an hour before kick-off. The target, a social club and amusement arcade, used mainly by young black people. The damage was caused by 200 white men, say the regulars, by 60, say the police. Either way, it frightened and angered the people inside.
To be in there, quite comfortable and happy, and see 200 people descend on the place and start to smash it up and threaten to damage you within that place, it's a frightening experience. And people aren't going to just sit back and let people from outside of the community come into a place that is used so regularly by the members of the community and have it smashed up in that way.
Their club vandalised, its customers were furious. As one told me, there was a lot of hot blood on the streets last night. In what's thought to have been a revenge attack, the trouble switched to an area close to the football ground. While the game was going on, a gang of black youths surrounded the Windmill pub in Cambridge Street. The landlord locked himself in.
A tremendous crashing noise of glass, and I came outside to have a look, and car windows have gone through. Some of the pub windows can be seen have gone through, and they just disappeared.
Inside the baseball ground there was no trouble. There's not been all season. The stadium's ringed by video cameras linked to a police control room. The fans are strictly segregated. It's difficult, not to say painful, for the hooligans. So the massive crowd at last night's game posed few problems for the massive police presence. A mile away, where few officers were on duty, it was a different story.
What happened last night was not spontaneous. It was very well planned. The people who, evidence suggests now, perpetrated this went out of their way to avoid being seen by police officers, and the first that we knew about their presence in Derby was when this unfortunate incident happened.
We have to look at the question of identity cards. I really do think more responsibility should be placed on the shoulders of the clubs involved, and that steps should be taken to enable the courts, where necessary, to ban visiting supporters where it is thought that trouble may occur.
As the MP was urging his ideas on the Home Secretary, the police were left with a dual difficulty. How to reassure the black people in inner Derby that everything had been done to protect them from racist attacks. How to cope with organised gangs of thugs forced out of soccer stadiums. Suddenly, it seems, anywhere is a battleground.
So the unacceptable face of football. Later in the programme, we'll have a report on the actual match that 4,000 well-behaved Portsmouth.
For football fans, it was a night to savour in every way, with a crowd so big that the kick-off had to be put back 15 minutes. Among them was Paul McRae.
Portsmouth's visit drew Derby's biggest league crowd for 7 years. 21,000 almost saw a goal in the first minute. A bad back pass by Pompey's Noel Blake. Derby's Phil G unable to accept the opportunity. 20 minutes later, Blake did it again. G once more intercepting. This time Gary Micklewhite made space for himself before shooting weakly wide. Mick Quinn had Portsmouth's only real chance, Mark Wallington foiling this effort at the start of the second half. Derby's Nigel Callaghan carved out an opening for striker Bobby Davison. He headed over after 68 minutes. 9 minutes from time, a moment of controversy. Davison for once eluded the Pompey defence, falling after a Hardyman tackle, failing to get the penalty, showing his frustration.